Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. Okay, so this topic is going to sound not paranormal, but I promise stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this, and I'm so excited about today's episode. It's April 30th, and I think, I tape ahead, and as a tarot reader, I'm always in the future. So we're in April 30th. And, so I know this great comedian, Rosie Tran, and we ended up on this show that was a political show. I was so outmatched because she's so smart, and she was talking about, you were so good. And I was like, who is that? I can't remember. And she does a podcast called Out of the Box, and Graham Elwood, the host, started talking to her about Bitcoin, which I have made, literally, Rosie, I have made predictions about Bitcoin and didn't step in and buy it. And then after listening to you that night, I think you talked about it for 2 seconds, and I was like, okay, I got to have Rosie on. And I started buying it. And folks, it's going to swing into I hate to say conspiracy anymore because QAnon ruined that word, but there's something about this that y'all need to know. So Rosie, thank you for coming on the show today. How are you?
Karen, I'm great. I'm so excited to talk about Bitcoin. I'm so passionate about it, and I'm really glad that you're introducing your paranormal listeners to this new financial revolution that's happening.
And it is a revolution. Okay, so tell me, how did you go from fabulous comedian to obsessed with Bitcoin? Where did that come from?
So I've actually always been interested in investing. And one of the reasons that I got into investing is actually because I'm a comedian. So I remember, starting comedy and being in my early 20s and meeting some absolutely fabulous and really talented comedians. And some of them were dead broke, and some of them had been on really big TV shows, and some of them were like famous and had been on TV shows. And I knew a couple of comedians that were sleeping on couches that were pretty big headliners. And that was something that really scared me, Karen. I was like, no.
First of all, I have to say, your approach is so smart. You're like, I have to look into investing. And I was like, I have to learn to read tarot cards. That's...
a lot of comedians read tarot cards, actually. I went on the road with Jay London, and I think he was a tarot card reader. He is a tarot card reader.
Yes, him, and also Ron... he's famous. And we've talked about it. Yes. So tarot cards I'm in the right arena, but I still think I should have gone your route. So you became nervous. You were like, okay, I gotta figure this out, right?
It just scared me because I was very naive. I'm from the South. I'm from Louisiana. And I thought, when you make it in Hollywood and you've been on a TV show and you've had a half-hour special, that you are like a multimillionaire. And as we know, Karen, that's not true.
No, it's not.
It's not. So my original delving into investing was not crypto. It was just investing in general. And it was just a backup plan because I was just scared at how unsteady the entertainment industry was. And I had a lot of friends. The comedy world is very, very small. People think there's like thousands and thousands of comedians, but as someone who's been doing it 20 years, and I don't know how long you've been doing stand-up, Karen, but I know it's probably around the same time or more.
Oh, 30. Thank you for that. It's 35. I'm an old lady, but thank you for that.
No, I didn't mean like that. I just meant because you're such a talented headliner and you're so funny. But
you left a lovely wide berth for a compliment, so I appreciate it.
But you just know it's a very small circle. Like everyone knows each other. And if you don't know someone, you know of someone who knows someone. And of course, in LA, where there's like so much talent, we're always meeting new young comics and stuff. But in general, the core circle is like pretty small, right? So like I just knew the same people, and I just saw people that were on big shows and had big things and getting them canceled and then having nothing. So I started it as a backup plan. And so that's how I started investing in general.
And even that, you can go like, hey, Wesley Snipes, $1 million movies, money's gone. So you got to know your money.
You do. And I think it's very important. And even within the industry, I know comedians that have their podcast and have their merchandise. And, there's headliners that I know that make $40,000 a year just from merchandise. And then there's some comics that are really big comics and they're like, well, I don't want to be sellout. I don't want to do that. And then they're broke and they have nothing. So the business side of entertainment is definitely different. And a lot of people have other money, I believe Bernie Mac, he's passed away, correct? Am I losing?
Yep.
Yeah. He took all of his comedy money and was buying properties in Chicago. So a lot of comics have their other businesses as well and their other side things. So that's how I got into investing. And that's how I got really passionate about investing, is that I wanted to make sure whether I was an open micer or a feature act or a headliner, that I had something set aside to protect myself. So that's how I got started in investing.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. And I have to say, tarot has turned out to be a phenomenal business for me, and I love what I do. But this would have been smart. I think this is so smart. Okay, so you're in investing, you're reading about it. Now Bitcoin comes up as a new thing, or you start researching it. How did that go?
So what happened was, I am a big NPR listener. I'm a big fan of NPR. And I noticed that there's something called the NPR effect. And I just want to, before your listeners go out and just invest in everything they hear in NPR, I just want to say that I am currently not a licensed financial advisor, and that everything I say is for educational purposes only. And this is a full disclaimer, because people can sue you. They can invest in a bad investment and say, well, Rosie Tran told me to invest in this. And so I just want all the listeners to know that if you want to invest in something, I would do my research, and that I am not saying that I'm a financial advisor on this podcast.
Great idea. I forget. I have a disclaimer for my tarot card when they make an appointment. Yeah, I have one there too. So I totally get it. Perfect. Okay.
So full disclaimer, because there's a lot of people that don't listen or do something weird, and they're like, hey, this is your fault. I lost money. It's like, no, it's not my fault. Okay. Right. So there is something called the NPR effect. And what happens is that I noticed, and it's actually been studied, is that when something is mentioned on NPR, an investment, it usually goes up. So I had heard about a couple investments on NPR, not Bitcoin, just like stocks. And then I watched them and they did go up. And one of the reasons is because a lot of people that listen to NPR are more financially well off than other, I guess, media outlets.
Who just call the poor people comedians?
They're more financially well off, and they're also usually more educated. So the stories that NPR picks up are a little bit before. I mean, now we have podcasting and alternative media and Young Turks and all this alternative media, but before that, it was really mainstream media: CNN, ABC, Fox News, and then NPR. And NPR was kind of like the alternative, right? Mm-hmm. And so whenever a stock would get talked about on NPR, I would watch it and it would always go up by 20%. Again, hashtag not financial advice, but I noticed that.
Now, and well, keep going. I have 1,000 questions. Keep going. I'll write them down.
Sure. So then I heard a story about Bitcoin, and this was way, way, way super early. So Bitcoin was created in 2009, and I would say this was probably late 2009. And I heard a news story about Bitcoin. So that was the first, what is this? And then my husband, who is in the IT world, he's a programmer, he's extremely intelligent. He had started hearing about Bitcoin in his circle, in his world. And so it was really weird. We're sitting down at dinner. We weren't married yet at the time. We were just, I believe we were just dating. And I said, have you heard of this thing, Bitcoin? And he was like, I have. And we're like, what is it? And we're like, I don't know. And then we just dropped it. We didn't do anything further. So that was my first introduction to Bitcoin. And then I kept hearing about it. I kept hearing about it on NPR. I kept hearing about it here and there, Bitcoin. And at this time, Bitcoin was 0.00001 cent, and it had gone up to $10 and then crashed again. And they were saying Bitcoin bubble. And then about a year later, I had heard it again. It had gone up to $100. Maybe it was a year or two. And then it had crashed down to 30 again. And people were like, Bitcoin bubble. And I'm like, what is this Bitcoin? I want to learn about it. And so at the time, Karen, I did what 90% of people who are learning about Bitcoin now in the past 2 years do. I thought, I'm not smart enough to understand this. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about programming. I can't figure it out. And so I just kept dropping, even though I was interested in it, even though I knew you could make money with it. I sold myself short, and I thought I wasn't smart enough. And so I just stopped. And that was the biggest mistake I could have made at the time. But yeah, it sounds like you have a question.
Well, yes, I know I'm terrible about interrupting. I'm sorry. It's so funny because I did a podcast on Bitcoin and what it was a while ago and didn't buy it yet because it seems scary and it seems out of the norm. And now I'm like, I never look back because I wasn't a big investor, like, oh, I missed a lot. But now that I'm making money, I'm like, this is some serious facelift money. I need to get Rosie on. So as you're figuring it out or kind of seeing what it is that when you started to buy?
It wasn't. So at that time, there was still no exchanges. There was a large exchange called Mt. Gox, and it had been hacked and people had lost millions in Bitcoin. So I was still super, super scared, and I didn't understand what it was still. So this is 2011, which let me tell you, do not ever look back, because I am not a wealthy person, Karen. I'm doing great, but I am not a wealthy person. And let me tell you, if I would have invested when I found out about Bitcoin, and this hurts, what I originally invested later on would be worth $1.5 billion, Karen. So do not look back, because that shit hurts.
Oh my, I thought you were going to say, I did not think you were going to say $1 billion. Holy cow.
Because when I found out about Bitcoin, it was pennies, but I sold myself short. And I said, you know what, I'm not smart enough, and I let it go. And now, as you know, it's hovering around $50,000, $60,000 of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So I had an opportunity to invest a very small amount of money and make it grow very big. And that's the first lesson that I want to tell your listeners, that regardless of what you invest in, a lot of people are quote unquote scared to lose money. The earlier you get in, the less risk there is for losing money. And so when you see something and it's like $5, $10, $1,000 or whatever, and you are confident and you believe in it, that's the time to get in. Because the more you like hem and haw and like, oh, I don't know, that's money that you're missing out on. And so people don't look at that side of investing. They always look at, oh, I don't want to lose money. It's better to lose $2,000 and possibly gain $1.5 billion.
Yes, you can say that.
And the other way around. So I think it's very important that people understand that what it's called opportunity cost. And a lot of people only look at the lost capital. So they're like, oh, I'm scared to lose $2,000, instead of thinking what the opportunity cost is. And that's very real money, Karen, because that is money that I put into crypto that I lost because I didn't put it in earlier. So in a way, I lost $1.5 billion. And so that's something that I have to live with, because when I bought my Bitcoin later on, I've never sold it. I've just kept it in there. And so I would have done the same thing. So I could have turned 2,000 into, over $1 billion. And it sounds crazy to say that, but that's real money. It's not fake money. It's not money that, that exists in my head. People have sold Bitcoin and made millions and billions of dollars. And so I want to tell people that, when you're investing in something, doubt is your biggest, and it's not just Bitcoin. I've had other investments as well, stocks and other things, where every time I hesitated, I regretted it. And, people that said Bitcoin was overpriced at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, it just keeps going up. So that regret, that fear that, oh, I'm going to lose money, that is actually not rational, because most investments have a very strong upward bias and a very low downward bias unless you're using leverage. So what that means is, like, if I invested $2,000 in Bitcoin in 2009, 2010, the most I could ever lose is $2,000. But the amount of money that I could make is unlimited, because investments can go up unlimited. And so that's something that people don't understand, is with investing, there's a very strong upward bias. And so it's very, very important not to focus on what you could quote unquote lose, because that upward bias is very, very strong. And that's another reason why the stock market always goes up. Real estate tends to go up because of inflation and upward bias. So I just think it's really important that people understand that, because that fear of quote unquote losing money has cost me literally billions of dollars, and not just in other investments as well.
Okay. So, and here is my question, because I go into this, I will be honest with everyone. Last year was probably 2019, 2020 with tarot and with my dry bar special exploding. It's the first year I moved into making money. Okay, that I actually had. So you are talking about someone nervous, right? And I know, but I always thought.
Congratulations on your Dry Bar special, by the way. I did see it. I watched it on YouTube.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's that was talk about, this could actually go to Bitcoin. I taped the second one they did, and everybody was like, "Don't do that." Da, da, da. And now I'm like, it's like Bitcoin. It's like, thank God I did that. It's been phenomenally, it's paid back. But I always thought, because people talk about the market crashing. So if the market crashes, just stay in and wait, right?
Just in every single study, there was a massive study on investments done by, I'm going to mess this up. It was either Cambridge or Oxford, and they tracked the index. It's the big index investing fund that financial advisors don't want you to hear about because they want to give you advice and charge you fees. But investments just go up, and a lot of people will say that's not true. There's crashes. If you keep your money in during a crash, it will just go back up. And I'll explain why really, really quick. So the U.S. government has an inflationary policy. In 1971, Nixon, I don't know what I can say on this podcast, but he did something very bad.
Sure,
okay,
go ahead.
He screwed us over. He said, "America, bend over and take it." Nixon, one of our most loved warmongers. And he took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard. And so now we have a fiat currency, and the central bank has an inflationary target every year of 2 to 3%. So basically, that means that our dollar gets devalued, and that inflates assets. And so that is the reason there's such high income inequality in America, which is horrible. And that's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Like, I remember following Bernie in the 2006 election, and he'd always say the rich get richer, the poor get poor. 2016. And I was like, well, why? Why do they get richer and why do the poor get poor? And that's because of the Fed's inflationary policy. And so that is why investments always go up. It's a literal rigged system. Like, I'm not making this up, and it's rigged for investments to go up. So anyone that says that they're afraid to lose money, including myself, does not understand the system at all.
Okay. And also, and we're going to, that is where Bitcoin, where I saw somebody on Jimmy Dore's show talking about why Bitcoin, I'm going to give you the conspiracy right here, and then we're going to take a break and come back, because this blew my mind. So I'm watching, Jimmy Dore has on a guy talking about Bitcoin, who he says it's going to go up to 200,000 by the end of the year, which gives me the chills. But I have to say, the other day, my friend texted me and said it went down to 50,000, and I bought in a little bit, and now we're at 56. So it's already making money. But here's the whole conspiracy paranormal theory. So this guy was saying, not only is it going up, this is the way the poor get richer. That Bitcoin is something that it isn't in the regular game. And,
yes.
And it's an evening out. And so here's how crazy is this. Right after that, I watched Bill Maher last night. He has on a guy talking about terrorism and cyber terrorism, and he says the problem is Bitcoin. That because they can't trace the money, so I think they're already going to try and shut it down.
Okay. So Bitcoin cannot be shut down. China has already banned it like 10 times, and they could not ban it. And so part of the reason that it can't be controlled is that it is decentralized. So the way that currency works is it's usually issued by a central agency. In the US, it's issued by a central bank, and then there's like a network of central banks. So the only way that Bitcoin can be shut down is if a group of countries, like maybe like NATO or like an alliance of countries and central bankers, get together and they ban its usage. And that hasn't been the case. And in countries that it is banned, people use like a VPN or like a different type of server to do their Bitcoin activities from a different country. So, however, I am very concerned about the regulation of Bitcoin, because right now we have a Treasury Secretary who's a former Fed chairman, Janet Yellen. And we have a lot, and there, it is very conspiracy, but it's also very scary because these central bankers make tons of money charging fees to the poor and middle class, and doing a lot of really shady things that we saw in the 2007, 2008 crashes. And they really don't care. I mean, they're the ultra rich 0.001% bankers, and they make a lot of money by leveraging off of the poor and the middle class. So it is a scary time for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the ultimate equalizer. It's an anti-racist, anti-inequality form of money. And I can definitely explain that to you as well.
Yeah. And we're going to hold for 1 second. And God, I had a thought in there and I forgot. It'll come back. Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. Folks, if you want some laughs, you can check out my CD, Psychic Stand-Up Valentine's Edition. You can get it on my website for $5. It's me reading tarot for a comedy crowd. It's funny and interesting and different. And if you don't have any money, go find it on YouTube and go watch it for free. I just want you all to laugh. Also, if you're looking to sharpen your intuition or some really great classes, I'm back in touch with my friend Derek at mysticalwares.net. He is putting up some free classes for the Mystical Wares website. So we got something for everybody. We got a comedy CD and we got all kinds of classes. Thanks and enjoy the rest of the podcast. Okay, so Rosie, tell us how Bitcoin is the equalizer for those people that are afraid of the market or feel like it's for other people.
Okay, so I hear a lot. So first of all, before we get into how it's equalizer, I hear a lot of people saying, Bitcoin's out of reach. It's for the ultra rich. It's like $60,000 a coin now. I can't afford it. And Karen, anyone can buy a 0.001% of a Bitcoin. I'm sure you did not put $60,000 in. Am I right?
No, I put in 100 and then I put in 200. And as it goes down, I'll put it. Yeah. So you can put in like 50, yes. I think, right?
I think you can put in like $1. So for people that are like, I missed the boat. It's already 60,000. You didn't miss the boat. You can buy a 0.001% of a Bitcoin. So how is it the great equalizer? So Bitcoin has no barriers to entry. So what does that mean? So traditional investments, like say you want to go and invest in a mutual fund, sometimes there's a minimum, like a $3,000 minimum, a $5,000 minimum, or something like that. So with Bitcoin, you can buy like $10, $20. So there's no barrier to entry. And also something that you can do that is really great with crypto in general is that you can do crypto loans to make money off of your money. So I don't know if we have time. Do I have time to explain about fractional reserve banking?
Yes. Well, and also, yeah, let's take a shot at it because I hit my conspiracy. So everybody in this field gets it. And yes, but tell me about it because I didn't know what a crypto loan was. And literally, I was going to tell you, I think I got drunk and bought a little Tesla. And okay. And then Apple split. So I own a little Apple. I own a little GE, very small. And I really do like Robinhood, but you can tell me if I'm doing that wrong. Because folks, go buy $10 of Bitcoin right now and then just wait. But yes, tell me how I can get a crypto loan because I have no idea what happens when I need to get this money out or what I need from it or how it's taxed. So you hit it and I will not interrupt.
Okay. So the way that the traditional banking system works is a system called fractional reserve banking. And in America, I don't know how, banks work if you're listening to this podcast from Australia or another country. But in the United States, we have fractional reserve banking. So what happens is banks, they make money through lending. And so where did they get that money? They need money from you. So they do things like offer people free checking. They offer people, interest rates on a savings account. So they offer you these like services at like free or cheap. And then, maybe Chase or some bank says, hey, we'll give you free checking if you like put your money here. And then they take that money and they lend it out and they can lend up to 10 times as much money as they have on their books. So if you give, Chase $100,000, then they can loan up to 10 times that amount and make a loan like out of thin air from your money. And then they get, interest from that loan and they take the profits. Mm-hmm. So they're taking your money, Karen, and they're making money off of it. And that's like not cool at all, right? Mm-hmm. Because they don't really give you anything for it. They still, even though they say, oh, it's free checking, if you bounce a check or something, they still charge you fees and stuff. So they're kind of like making money on both ends. They're double dipping. But with crypto, they have the same banking system, but instead of making money off of your money and then keeping the profits, they give it back to you. So there's these coins called stable coins, and there's a stable coin called USD coin, and there's another one called Tether, and they're 1-to-1. So one stable coin equals 1 USD. And if you use websites like Abra, which is a really great what's called DeFi, decentralized finance company, they lend out your money and then they pay you the interest. Oh. So right now I'm making 10% on my USD coin. So they're lending it to other people and then they're paying me the interest.
What? Okay. All right. Okay. Keep going. That sounds great. I'm going to do that in a minute.
So that's one way that crypto takes the power from the big banks and puts it into your hands. So basically, Karen, you become the bank. So you're the banker. But it's your money. So you should be the banker. But they're just providing that platform for you to get the money. Whereas the old school platform, what I call the legacy platform, they're taking your money, lending it out, for home loans, businesses, other things, and they're keeping that profit for themselves, for the shareholders. Whereas with DeFi, decentralized finance, which is the core of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, you, Karen, are the bank with your own money. And so that is a way for income inequality to be reduced. You're in control of your own money. And it's a way, as you said, from the Jimmy Dore show, for the poor or the middle class to kind of get rich because you're in control of your own money, which you should be because it's your money that you earned with your driver special.
Yes. And this sounds a weird question. So I get the interest back on the loan. What if somebody defaults on that loan?
They diversify it just like a normal bank. So they're not taking, they're not taking your money, Karen's, $100 and then loaning it just to one person. They spread it out over various loans and just like a normal bank would do, but it's just that you get that money.
Okay. So now is Robin or is there more? Keep going if there's more.
Oh, so I was just saying that's the core of decentralized finance. That's why it's called a financial revolution, because basically the creator of Bitcoin, who's this anonymous programmer, one of the main reasons for him or her or they creating this decentralized financial system was because they were frustrated with the banks getting bailed out in the 2008-2009 crisis. They were frustrated with these big banks, having basically messing with other people's savings, investments, other things like that, usually middle class and lower class people who are, these are like people's retirement funds and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And basically gambling with them in extremely high risk investments, losing that money, and then having the US government bail them out. And so again, that's our money. So people had their investments and lost everything. And then with their tax dollars had to bail out these big banks. So decentralized finance was a way to take the hands out of the 1% and put it into the hands of the many. And that's why Bitcoin and crypto is so revolutionary. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. But if you read the white paper, if you read which is online and it's on the blockchain, if you read all this information, you see these were real financial revolutionaries saying, hey, we're done with the 1%. We're done with the big banks controlling our lives. We deserve to keep our money. It's a decentralized, democratized version of banking. It's a democratized version of finance. And that doesn't even go into the fact that, the banking system does not lend to a lot of minorities, women, C-rated businesses, which are usually from poor or middle class people trying to get a piece of that, American pie. And the fact that decentralized finance is willing to loan to those people at very low interest rates and have you be in control of your money and not be controlled by this centralized system that has been typically racist, sexist, and other things. I mean, there's no law. It's just code. Bitcoin is code, crypto is code, and so by its very nature, it cannot discriminate against you.
There's another thing, and this is where I don't think people like I'm liberal, I'm a Democrat, but the Democrats need to work on do their shadow work. That's what I'm putting it now. They need to do their shadow work because I didn't get one because things were going so well, but everybody got those PPE loans, or if you were an artist of some sort, you could get a loan, which is it is like the stimulus. You need it, so it's just enough to keep us quiet. Here's $1,400. Shh, don't look at anything else. And the PPE loans somebody told me, and I'm not exactly positive on this because I'm not a financial advisor, but all the PPE loans over $50,000 were forgiven, which leads me to believe they gave that money to a lot of people, probably payoffs, oligarchs, rich people that didn't need it. But there was something about if you had under 50,000, you got to pay it back. But there's something nefarious about that money. I didn't do it. I probably should have, but I was like, yeah, I don't need it. Let it go to people who need it. And then I was like, no, wait. Jimmy actually said to me, no, that's going to everyone. That's how they're passing out money. And I thought, he's right.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm actually an independent. I kind of got fed up with the Democratic Party. I do have a lot of ideas on both sides of the aisle, but I personally think that both parties have a lot of reprehensible qualities. I think the Republicans are socially bankrupt, morally bankrupt as far as their social values, and the Democratic Party has unfortunately been bought by a lot of big corporations as well. So it's really crazy when I hear a lot of people on the socialist side of things agreeing with people on the libertarian side of things, because those are complete opposites. So that. And 40% of people in America consider themselves political independents, and they just vote, Democrat or Republican because those are the only two main choices. So it's kind of really scary because we don't have a really big choice in America for a country that's democratically very free compared to other countries. So it's a little bit disheartening, but yeah, there's definitely something going on.
Yeah. Once you look under the looking glass and you go, I don't know. The $15 minimum wage, they couldn't do it. They had anyways, now we're getting political, which I usually don't do on this podcast, but I'm actually listed as an independent. All my leanings are liberal, but it's not happening. But actually, it's very funny because lately I am finding, and this is what they did. It was like, we hate Trump, which I do hate the man, which I shouldn't, I know. But there are certain things that we're finding out now that it was about the split. Like, we wouldn't look at anything he did, or I say we, or probably lefties wouldn't look at anything he did when a clock is right, twice a day. And now I'm looking at these things and going, like you are, I'm finding a little bit on both sides. I'm finding where this independent party needs to come in, and now you'll hear a siren because they're coming to get me. Okay. So back on the topic. I'm in, here they are. Okay. So is Robinhood a good way to go or start? Because I have to say, I would not be investing if my friend Lamont didn't call me and go, play with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Robinhood has its pros and cons like everything else. So, I personally use Coinbase, and Coinbase also has its pros and cons as well. There's some things about Coinbase that are a little bit scary, but there's some things that are positive. And there's some things about Robinhood that are scary, and there's some things about Robinhood that are positive and negative. So one of the good things about Robinhood is it's very easy. There's easy access. It's easy. There's low minimums, I believe. But one of the bad things is the big scandal that just happened with GameStop. And the evidence that Robinhood was a free app because it was selling information to hedge funds. So that's a negative. I personally do all of my stock investing on Vanguard, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. And then with crypto, I use Coinbase, and I'll tell you why in a little bit as well. So Coinbase I use because they have these programs called Crypto Earn. And so that is all about education. So if you watch these Crypto Earn videos, they give you free crypto. And so the Crypto Earn videos are just educational videos about crypto. And so they want an educated and, people that understand the system. And the videos are pretty good. And they teach you about, Bitcoin basics and other cryptocurrencies and what they do. And so once you watch it, it's not a ton of money, but they'll give you like $10 in crypto, $20 in crypto. And so I think that's a really great incentive. And I like the fact that they're trying to educate people.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Also, it's interesting. I have I got a little IRA, I think, with Vanguard. I don't know. I get emails from them. I think I do. Okay. So Coinbase is a good one to go to. And then they'll educate you. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I really like that about them, but also they have some things as well that a lot of people in the crypto community don't like. They have certain security things that a lot of people don't like, and they crash a lot when there's like big swings in the market. So a lot of people don't like that. And then they hold your coins. So a lot of people don't like that. They like to hold their own coins, which you can transfer your coins to like a wallet, which is basically just like a hard drive thing. Mm-hmm. But that's another conversation for another podcast. Mm-hmm. And then I just want to say really quick that I only invest stock wise with Vanguard. And one of the reasons I will tell the listeners, if you guys don't know anything about investing, you should look at Jack Bogle. And anyone who doesn't know anything about investing, you really need to research Jack Bogle. Rest in peace. He is the father of index investing, the father of if it wasn't for him, Robinhood and all these other apps, E-Trade would not exist, because he created the first company, which is Vanguard, which is the only company to this day that's a co-op. So it's owned by the investors themselves. And he was called the socialist of Wall Street. He wanted to democratize wealth. So he was worth $200 million when he died. He probably should have been worth trillions of dollars, but he wanted to give that money back to the people by having cheap investments and low fees and stuff like that. So there's a reason he's called the socialist of Wall Street. And he, before that, you needed $100,000 to invest and to know someone who knew someone at the country club. And he changed that and revolutionized that in the 70s for everyone. So I only will invest with his company. He's passed away last year, because of his motto and his philosophy, which is that wealth should be democratized for all and that everyone deserves a piece of the pie. And his company and the way Vanguard is set up is a co-op. It's the only co-op on Wall Street. And I will only do stocks through them for that reason, for moral and ethical reasons.
Great. And can you spell his last name?
Sure, Bogle, Bogle. His name is Jack Bogle. His name's John Bogle, but he went by Jack Bogle. I don't know why.
Okay. And my show notes, I'll put it in the show notes, but my show notes never go up on YouTube, and the listeners, I don't know why they don't go up when my YouTube goes up, and people were asking me about it. So that's why I was spelling. So that's okay. So that's your regular. So you're pretty diversified between regular investments and crypto.
I am. I think everyone should diversify. It's a way to stay safe. I think real estate is great. There's a lot of funded investments that are happening now, which is another internet revolution and another democratization of wealth. Crowd-funded real estate. So there's something which I know we got to go soon, is the last vestige of the
good. We got extra time, so you just keep going. Don't worry about the clock. Okay. Well, you got to go. You tell me when you have to go. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the vestiges of the old system are kind of falling away, and this new system of democracy is kind of bubbling up. And I think finance is the last kind of section where things are collapsing from the old system, that the way things have been done for hundreds and thousands of years. And so I'm really hopeful, Karen. I'm really hopeful about America. I know a lot of people believe we live in an oligarchy, and there's a lot of negative sentiment. But if you really look at the technology, especially crypto and what's coming, a lot of things are becoming better and becoming decentralized so that more people have more opportunities. It's not a matter of opportunities, it's a matter of learning about them. And so they're out there. A lot of people just don't know about them.
And a question, and then everyone get your flags out as I do my little America speech. So I want to know, you said crowdfunding. Do you mean like Kickstarters, or did you say real estate crowdfunding? That's very interesting.
Yeah. So in the past, what happened is to get access to a lot of these quote unquote real estate deals, you had to be an accredited investor. And that's part of the old legacy system. Accredited investor still exists. An accredited investor means that you have $1 million net worth or 5 million, I think, or over if you're an institution. And so that was the barrier to entry. That's the way to keep the poor and the middle class out of a lot of these financial deals, saying, hey, you don't know what you're doing. You're not an accredited investor, so you can't take part in this deal. And so in the past, 5-10 years, a crowdfunding investing has occurred where you can just put in a little bit. So there's websites. I think there's a website called Fundrise where people kind of crowdfund into these private REITs and stuff like that. And I think you just need 5,000 or something, which is a far cry from these old
white
accredited
millionaires.
Yeah, millionaire deals where you needed 100,000, 500,000 to get in a deal. And again, 5,000 might be a stretch for a lot of people, but the fact that you can get into a real estate deal that's returning 20%, 25%, just with 5,000, I think that's really going to be a big deal for, a middle-class family. So I'm really excited about these new crowdfunded platforms. They're kind of doing a workaround to the old accredited investor system.
I'm going to be glued to your podcast. The other thing is, and this is really weird, but this gets into my paranormal, or I should say metaphysical area, is like you look at a Jeff Bezos. He is in poverty thinking. There is never enough. He must make more. He must crush the competition. This Jack Bogle, that is like exactly how many millions or trillions do you actually need? And I love that about, I just think this taking a risk, like I said, folks, go get Robinhood and put $10 in Bitcoin. If you're not an investor, and then text me in a week or email me in a week and tell me what happens, because it's happening fast and you can really get an idea watching $10. So here's the other question. It's probably a changing or a moving target, but which cryptocurrency? Oh no, did I lose Rosie?
Thought you had more to the question.
Oh no, my questions are pretty bad. I'm not the best interviewer, so you really have to piece it together to make it a great podcast, which you're doing. No, there's a couple of different kinds of Bitcoin, right?
So Bitcoin is the only coin called Bitcoin. There's other types of cryptocurrencies, and they all do different things. So Bitcoin is positioning itself as a store of value, as digital gold. And so the case use is just like gold. It's like you're saving and you're investing your money into it, and it holds its value, right? So most people don't go out and liquidate their melt their gold into coins and like spend it. They just like, if you buy gold, if you're a gold investor, you buy gold and you like put it in a safety deposit box. That's what Bitcoin is kind of positioning itself as. It's like a store of value. It's like a steady currency, right? And then there's other cryptos. There's Ethereum. And that is a smart contract technology that has a coin associated with it. So there's a lot of use cases for it. For example, like a smart contract. So you can, on the Ethereum network, you can build a smart contract. So for example, instead of buying a house through escrow, you could create a formula or a contract on the Ethereum network that said, when these certain things are met, then, the contract can be released. And so that's an interesting technology that is, I believe Ethereum is the number 2 cryptocurrency on the market. And there's thousands of others. If you're asking me which ones to invest in, I would say you're pretty safe investing with the top 5 to 10 cryptocurrencies on CoinMarketCap.
Okay, great. And I do like this. I'm kind of stuck on this. The one you said where you watch the videos and you get educated. Coinbase? What was that called?
It's on Coinbase, and their videos called, I think they're called Crypto Earn videos.
Okay. All right. So before I do a little yay America, because I'm kind of dissing on America, anything else, Rosie? Add anything else or help us out? Or should we just like go start, read, look, listen to your podcast? What do we do?
So my podcast is not a crypto only podcast. It's called Out of the Box, and it's just all out of the box thinking. So I grew up in a very traditional.
Great.
Yeah. I grew up in a very traditional but close-minded environment. I love my parents. I'm not bashing them, but there was so much out there in the world that I didn't know. So I interview everyone from crypto experts to porn stars to anything that's out of the mainstream. I definitely have had a few conspiracy theorists on my podcast. But that's one of the ways that I actually got really into crypto is I had a couple of crypto guests on my podcast. I had the creator of Pink Coin, which is now a defunct coin. It was a coin that was created to give back to charities, and that coin died. Oh. But he was on there, and he was very pro crypto and preached the crypto mantra. I had David Seaman on the show, who was a big crypto guy. He's now fallen off the wagon and is a conspiracy theorist. Oh. So, but he was very educated about crypto, but he did kind of fall off the conspiracy theory wagon. And I had a few other crypto people. I just had Isaiah on my podcast, who's known and very known in the crypto community. He wrote a book called Bitcoin in Black America that I would I would strongly recommend your listeners listening to that if they want to know about social justice and how crypto stops inequality and things like that. If you're interested in that slant, because he was, I think, 2 or 3 episodes ago, and he is just very educated on how crypto is a revolutionary, especially for minorities and women and people who have been financially disenfranchised. So that goes on for like an hour, and we explained it. And he's a lot smarter than I am. So
I don't know about that, but that is just fantastic. All right, you've given us a good base. I bet I'm going to get 100 emails, and we're going to have you back. But yes, thank you so much, Rosie. You know, I am actually very optimistic about America, and this is my cue the music, if I had any. I feel like America started out, we were the inventors. We invented everything, or we were so on that spirit that I think revolutions, I think we need a revolution, and I hope it's not a bloody one, but I think America is waking up, and they are going to do away with, I figure in the next 4 years, they're going to wake up politically. And I love the underswelling of the justice system and Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, because I really do think we're going in the right direction. And I think this, you know, if people started this, like even this little cryptocurrency, and became more secure in their money, or even the ability to make money, not even how much they made, but that there's an alternative to do it this way, I think we start to strengthen everyone. And that's when I think the country's going to get on the right track. Just me.
I think America is on the right track. And I think that it can feel sometimes like we're going down a death spiral, but I think in general, we're a good country with a lot of good people. Yeah. And, the media likes to exaggerate when it comes to focusing on stories that are very negative and sensationalized. And I think that can skew you. I just want to say something really quick, though, before we head out, that one, sorry, listeners, if I was ranting and talking a mile a minute. I'm so passionate about this topic.
Great.
And 2, I just want to say that crypto and Bitcoin is the most secure currency in the world, and that is the pro and the con of it. So I just want to say really quick that it is so secure that it's never been hacked. And so if you lose your password or your private keys, you can also not get it back. So that's how secure it is, that no one can get into it. And so if you get that password for your wallet or for your crypto or your Bitcoin, do not lose it. I did lose $700 in crypto because my husband could not locate the password, and we even hired a black hat hacker and could not get into that wallet. So I just want to let you guys know it's the most secure currency in the world. And it's the most secure currency in the world. So do not lose that password, whatever you do.
Oh, my God. My password will be password, just so I don't lose it. Oh, my God. That's a scary story. Rosie Tran, RosieTran.com. Check out her comedy. Check out her podcast, Out of the Box. Send her an email of how grateful you are, because right now I'm so, you really got me moving, and I'm already making money. And I think we did it, 2 weeks ago? That podcast?
Yeah, we did it 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Awesome. Rosie, you're the best. Thank you. Anything else we should know? Any shows coming up? Anything where should they just watch your website and sign up for your email?
I would say if you guys want to check me out on Twitter, I'm at Funny Rosie. On Instagram, I'm Out of the Box Rosie. That's ROSIE. And just follow me and give me a shout out. And hopefully I'm trying to launch a crypto podcast, but I'm very unorganized.
You let me know. We'll have you back on to promote it and to let everybody know what else. And I'll read you. I don't know. Like I said, I immediately started making money, and I did not put that much in. So I'm going to go do that now. So that's great.
Okay, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Psychic teas, spelled with a Z, are scrumptious herbal combinations with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Without sugar or caffeine, psychic teas won't mess with any medications and are designed by a naturopathic doctor. Many testify to positive results. Detox chakras and psychic tea blends enable bodily functions with superior efficacy, while more love and champagne blends support awareness of subtle joy and bliss. The CBD's teas are magical with myriad healing effects. There are 20 servings per package. A little dab will do ya, and you can drink it hot or cold. Psychic teas taste so good. Replace coffee, use as a bedtime ritual, or even flavor a meal or dessert. The people behind the product are righteous and kind. Psychic teas will blow your mind. Totally worth the investment. Psychic Teas with a Z.com.
Okay, everybody. So now I'm back and we're doing a split episode, and I'm talking to my friend Greg, who I have known from Utah, who has given me art, who is one of my favorite people. And now he has, and I love this so much, he has made his own tarot deck and sent me my copy, and I'm in love with it. And I want to, first of all, how are you doing, Greg?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I've been I actually haven't been doing anything really creative lately, just kind of finishing the orders that I've had set out for my Oracle deck. I was surprised that it actually sold out what I had initially put on my Etsy. So people keep emailing me. They're like, hey, are you have this available still? Like, I saw this in a group, and I'm like, I'm still trying to finish these orders, and then I'll actually I just ordered some more. So it'll be a little bit different this time, because I was ordering them on demand. So like I'd get an email from somebody, and the next day I'd get one. And then for some reason, I don't know what I had done with the universe or something, but I had like one night I'd woken up and I had like 30 orders the next day.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, so I ended up just ordering like 20 for this next batch where I'll have them here. So it'll be easier just to ship them right out. So I'm not having people wait another 2 to 3 weeks for me to get them in and then have them ship out in the next couple of days. So, but it's kind of a learning curve for something new.
Well, it is, but Etsy is such a great place to look for that stuff. And by the way, your store is Gemini Moon House on Etsy. We'll have that. We're going to give out your Instagram, which is where everybody can find everything. So how did you, first of all, you've been doing really great artwork for some time now. And and you decided to do your own deck. What was, maybe you'll be like, I don't know, but what was the process? Did you like figure how you wanted to lay it out, how you wanted to put in it, your own drawing? What happened there?
Well, I can kind of connect with tarot a little bit, but I just thought that would be a big undertaking. And I had some ideas for a tarot deck at one point, but I decided to go with an Oracle deck because I feel it's more broad and you could kind of make it your own and kind of decide what kind of themes you want in there. Mm-hmm. A lot of my work for the last couple of years has been like researching, witchcraft and actually getting into it because I've just had this connection since I was a kid, but didn't really I kept kind of pushing it off and then coming back to it. And then all these synchronicities and meeting you and having some of the synchronicities we've had together, it kind of spiraled into more research. Well, I was at a really weird low point and I had this really intense dream, and doing the research afterwards, I found out it was the goddess of magic and witchcraft, Hecate. And so I did more research on her, and I had more synchronicities come up. And finally I was like, well, I'm going to do something with this, like all that I'm learning, that, she has like tons of different names that just like descriptive epithets. So I decided to use that as a concept for my deck and create like kind of a way to honor her and also to help other people, like give them some kind of like, whatever Oracle decks do for other people, but use it in the context of from the standpoint of working with this goddess. And a lot of my guides I would be working on the artwork that would just come to me. And then my guides would be like, okay, well, start writing this down and this. And I'm like, because I have this one guide that's really like about writing and wanting me to do writing a lot more. So I was like, I need to finish the art first. So let me come back to that. So by the time I got done with all the artwork, which was probably about a year-long process through the last year, just through quarantine and everything, I was able to finally sit down and write it all out, and it clicked instantly of what all the themes kind of connected with, and editing the art again and then sending it in and getting a trial deck and everything. But it was probably a year-long process, and it just really was fueled by wanting to create something that could help people as well. This is coming from like a healing standpoint kind of thing.
Well, first of all, too, and there's a very interesting way that you used color in this, which is mostly black or one single or a couple of them have the blue. And I just find it, I don't know. I don't want to get too printy detailed ask about it, but I just think it looks so cool. And
thank you.
I want everybody to see and buy your deck, but I also love this process. And I had that girl on that was doing a meditation one, and they were talking about soul cards where you made your own. And I think that's such a great idea. Somebody maybe even making their own deck with their own stuff. But this, it really is a fascinating deck. And then when people get it, they get the PDF too, right? The instruction PDF.
Yeah, I was looking into doing like a booklet with the printing company that I work with, but it was just an extra cost on there that I was like, you know what? And then they were like, just do digital. My guides were like, just do digital because you're saving paper. You know what I mean? And then I could use that into going into like the other, shipping costs and all that stuff too. But I thought it would just be a good idea to have it that way. You have it on your phone whenever you're with someone, or you take the deck somewhere else. You have everything on your phone or on your tablet or something that you could just pull up in a PDF and like flip through it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm almost paperless in my house. I'm pretty close to paperless. So, I know that I always lose the little booklets. So it's better to have it that way. But, it's so interesting. In fact, the last time I saw you was one of the weirdest synchronicities ever. I don't know.
Oh, I know. It was so crazy.
It was. So I had done a show the night before and had and you came to the show. You and your mom came to the show, I believe, right?
Yep.
And then I the next day I went and bought some shungite, and then how did this go? All right, I was supposed to meet Diet at a particular Starbucks. I got to that one. It was closed. Like the only Starbucks in the world that was closed. And then I called her immediately and I was like, you got to go to this other Starbucks. And I found another one. Now you have to figure, but at this point, I'm 45 minutes out of Ogden where I was performing. And that second one was blocked by a parade. And then I go to this third one. I go, Diet, you got to go here. And I walk in and there you are. You're there.
I know. It was crazy.
It was the odds of me finding you in Utah like that were like, it had to be 1 in a million.
And the funny thing too is I was actually on my lunch break before I came in and I was listening to your podcast in my car.
I know. Talk about, but when you sent me this deck, first of all, I know I don't want to get too, because the people can't feel it. It just feels good. It's just the right texture. It's just the right, so I don't know. I don't know what else to say except that I'm phenomenally excited about it. So when you, how long have you been doing magic? Because I do know I feel like creative people and painters are always doing magic anyways, but how long have you been sort of, shall you say active or studying magic?
Well, I've always been interested since I was younger, in like anything paranormal, anything weird. And I usually you'd think that it'd be like, I'd get scared. People would get scared about like ghosts and ghost hunting and stuff. And I would always get like, it wasn't like it was an adrenaline feeling, but it was more like excitement, like curiosity and excitement and not fear. But I just started researching into like, witchcraft and stuff, but it wasn't too detailed. It would always come back to Wicca and I'd be like, it still seems too structured and too patriarchal. And, but over the time I've had like readings done. And this lady was like, one time she was like, it was a tarot reading. And she was just like, you have the potential to manifest stuff easily. So be careful. Also be careful with magic because, you're able to see spirits and stuff. And at that time I wasn't really thinking about anything, you had that link that the psychic abilities were linked to stuff, but I just had weird experiences all the time. But when I started doing research after that dream and all these weird synchronicities, and I just started really getting into it, then I noticed some of the stuff that I used to do when I was younger was kind of similar to having like a little ritual or something, you know what I mean? So it all kind of clicked. But I started doing work with this. I think I gave you her information as well. Her name's Karen as well. But I had another reading where this psychic said from about a past life experience where I had lived in Italy and I had done at a different part of the world in a different life. I had done like leather work, and I'd been wanting to take these classes for like a psychic development from this lady that I had she was a musician as well. So I kind of like followed her work and I noticed she was doing these classes online and I decided to take a couple of them, and the messages I got from her kind of all linked. It was just like a weird synchronicity of me learning this like traditions of rural Italian traditions of magic and stuff, and how it's more, it seems more, it's like not what you'd think it would be. It's more rooted in like more earth worship kind of things, but more of like,
Not as ritualistic.
It's not as ritualistic. It's more like channeled through, like, from working with the spirits and working with your spirit guides and working with goddesses, and it's clicked really well with me. And then I had another past life experience reading from her, which it was like I had done some work before where I had helped people break curses and like was able to go in weird and astrally and like break things apart and help people. And then I had actually passed away in that lifetime, and I was really old, and people were like really weird. Like they were like, "Wow, I can't believe how old you were," or whatever. And then she said that after I passed on, I had stayed as a spirit and like stayed by this well and continued to help people and continued to help like teach people. And so people kept coming with sort of petty things. And then I was like, I'm done. And then the nymphs that I worked with, I guess, took me out to the moon or something like that. But it was like, I've had these weird connections that all lead up to how my life is now. And then noticing the weird things I had manifested in my life of like giving art to different people, like musicians that I had grown up listening to and meeting them and like, kind of staying connected with them and stuff. And like, giving them art is like a cycle of appreciation. And I noticed when I started working more into my art, then the more like psychic stuff started opening up for me. And it was just like, oh, wow, this is crazy. How it all kind of cycles together, like you said.
I have said that a million times. Psychic, sexual, and creative art is, creative energy is all the same. In fact, I forget. I just did an interview with someone who said they started with an intuitive art class, and I was like, what is that? So I just went to look that up online. But I think that is all. I think we're sort of channeling when we're doing art. It's interesting. I really like that reader told you to be careful about manifesting and about witchcraft, because I think people don't say that enough. I know that sounds really weird, but I have had two really negative experiences, and it was somebody else showing me, and I think it's not for me, but I have the ultimate respect for it. So, but I'm thinking even that where you went to sleep and woke up with 20 decks sold, that's pretty good. That's why don't you manifest more of my tarot classes selling?
Right.
Which actually they did great. I shouldn't say like that. But yes, I would love to sell more. But that's really, really interesting. And now, do you think that you were Italian in your last life also?
Oh, yeah, that's what she said, too, is that I was in a small Italian town. And the funny thing is what she said is the Italian town that I was, like the area that I was more like Greek influence, which makes sense of working with Hecate, because she was prevalent in Rome and Italy and everywhere as well, too. But just that I think these little like bits and pieces coming back into this life was kind of crazy that I noticed. Yes.
Now, I have a question. Let's do a little, I have some friends that work with Hecate. And I am, it's funny. I'm on this kick now where I'm just researching everything. I'm researching archangels, which is kind of blowing my mind. I think I'll do a single episode on them. I
have a story about that too.
Oh yeah. Well, tell me that one first. Give me that archangel one.
So the archangel one, I had this, I think it was 2019, like right December 2019. And I was still a really heavy cigarette smoker. And I had this crazy experience where I was getting like really sick. And I think it could have been COVID, honestly, just the way that all the weird symptoms. But I was like reading about archangels, and I prayed to Archangel Raphael to help me out because he's like the healing. He helps with healing, health, and healing. And I had this crazy dream where it was like a lucid dream where I was driving on the freeway and I went to like reach for a cigarette, and I decided, no, I'm done. Like I'm done. I have to make this choice that I'm done. Like before I'm 30, I need to quit this. So I ended up just crushing the pack in my hand instead. And then I saw this like truck in the same kind of like just next to me coming the opposite way. So like it almost felt like I was going the right direction was the feeling I got. And after working with him, and it was just a crazy experience. And then I woke up the next morning, no cravings whatsoever, and I had a cigarette for like over a year now.
Wow, that is great.
I'm like, it's and then I've had a channeling class with archangels too, and just the energies. It's crazy.
Well, that's even funny about Raphael, because I think next week Elwyn is on, and Elwyn is a witch that I watched on TikTok, and I became really fascinated. His stuff was so good, and he talks about how the archangels are not gentle, right? So if you're asking to be healed, it was like, well, now I'm going to heal everything. So it wasn't like, yeah, just COVID. It's like, yeah, and these are going too. So,
oh yeah,
which is really a good thing. But somehow I think sometimes it can be, they can be very harsh. So that worked out very well.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah. After hearing stories afterwards, I'm like, oh, that was pretty mild. I'm glad it wasn't anything super crazy.
Right. That's one of the things why I'm reading more and more and more about the angels, because they're saying they're not here to help us. They're for God's will only. So if we're not working in that fashion, I think I want to say, they're not that interested or something. I'm going to give a good preview because Elwin is up next week. And I had a conversation with him off the air, but he said one of the angels told him, they don't like us, we smell like pigs. And I was like, I bet we do. We must smell like meat, right?
Right.
So everybody don't miss Elwin next week. He's fantastic. So and do this before we go. Give me a quick review of, we're going to do two things. I want you, Hecate, it's the three faces of Hecate, right?
Yeah. So she usually stands at a crossroad and then points in different directions.
Okay. And meaning these are the different directions of our life, which I seem to be under attack by helicopters right now, folks, if you're hearing something. So she's there to help you make that decision?
She's there to help you through life, death, and rebirth. For me, like I've noticed that in a lot of the reading I've done and other people's podcasts and stuff, she usually shows up at a time when it's like you're feeling your lowest, and kind of like the feeling I got from her when like in the experience in the dream was like it was like a mother figure that was really pissed off that somebody hurt her kid, and she was kind of just like, you need to take this into your hands. You need to it was just like a very encouraging of like, you need to start working on yourself and start setting boundaries kind of thing with people, and taking your power back kind of feeling is what I got.
Wow. Okay. So then here's the last half. Because I don't know why, but I think everyone should be making their own deck for them. Do you have any tips for people? Like, you said you got most of your inspiration from your spirit guide, because I keep a little notebook of things that I go, that would be the card. I should make that card. I should make it look like that. And it's funny because I saw a deck and I didn't end up getting it because it was the Angels Demons deck. And it was actually beautiful, but it had the real sigils from the demons on it. And so I called Tommy, my demonologist, and he was like,
Tommy's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. I always asked Tommy, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I'd have those sigils around my house. They're probably not activated, but you don't need any mistakes. And I was like, yeah, because there's like 52 cards. I don't need 52 demons in my place. But he was like, no, this guy used the real sigils. So that was a no. But do you have any encouragement for people? Do they should they look into how they're going to have them printed first, or anything you could tell people about if they came up to you and were like, yeah, I want to make my deck too?
For me, it would be taking notes, because a lot of this stuff came from like dreams that I've had, just connecting the different epithets with different imagery for me. One of the most things that stuck out was one of the cards that has a picture of a mountain, which I had seen in a lot of the psychic readings that I've done for people, just as an encouragement type of thing. So just keep track of any kind of information. Oh, this would be a good idea, or I like this theme, or even just start drawing something and make it to where it's something you would want to use, because this is something that I was making kind of for me at first, so make it something that a lot of the stuff I've learned about art too is the stuff that I want is something that I would want to own. So it's kind of make it personal, because I was surprised at how well it took off, honestly, because I had some people know who Hecate is, they'll have some kind of connection, but I didn't realize that it was going to be as crazy as it went through.
Well, I think it's great. I have loved your art and adored you for many years, and you've seen many shows, I think.
I have. I was thinking about it. I'm like, we've known each other since before, I think 2017, a little bit before that. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And I think we just met through Twitter because I heard you on another podcast, and I'm like, oh, now we're friends.
Yes. And you know what? I love Utah. I cannot wait to get back. I have so many Utah is one of those places where I go, I wonder if I would do well living there, because just the people are so kind like you. And and everybody can find you. Tell everybody where they find you on Instagram. It's gemini.moon.house.
Yep, correct. And then that has a link to my Etsy account right now. Like I said, I'm kind of still working on the flow of how to sell the decks and stuff. So if you just kind of follow me there, and then I'll be updating soon of when I'm sending out another email list of when I'm putting in more decks available in my Etsy shop.
Great. And follow Greg on Twitter. Thank you so much, darling. And I love this deck so much. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
I'm so glad you like it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're going to sell a bunch. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And we'll see you all next week with Elwyn the Witch.